Guys, you have to watch these videos in order. Phil and I have decided to come up with the best drills from his time in the Navy to make you the best at CQB, CQC, home defense, and just be a general better shooter. We have 5 CQB principles that you have to have in order to progress in this video series.
So within this series, we are kind of breaking down from start to finish of where I would start someone that's brand new, maybe they're new to guns and they want to start to learn this stuff. These are progressive video series that shows, hey, flat range training. Today we're looking at the 5 fundamentals that we kind of need to know before we even dive into clearance, and then we carry on into the 1 and the 2 man for home defense, CQB. We're going to build on it, and I think it's a series that you have to watch in order to get the concepts as they grow.
All right, watch them in order. If you're started here, that's not going to work. Go back to video number 1. Let's watch them in order. Let's progress together. So this is one of the advanced levels where we're going to explain some stuff to you about CQB, and then we'll start doing some CQB. Stick around.
First room we're going to look at, center fed room. And what that means is I'm walking into the room and it's feeding as close to center line as we can get in this structure, right? We can look at this wall's a little bit shorter or longer, this wall's a little bit shorter. So it's as close as we can get to a center fed room. In most houses and buildings in the United States, center fed and corner feds are the most popular normal rooms that we're going to see. So when we're doing 1 man center fed room, we run into the issue of not being able to see deep into both corners. It becomes a little bit more challenging. We have to take more time. 2 man, it's going to go 1 man goes one way, 2 man goes the other way, and they're going to cover their different sectors or fields of fire inside of the room. So me and Trey are stacked on the center fed door for a 2 man entrance. Either Trey or myself has pied that external. We'll say that you pied, okay? So you have seen the room, and I'm just your 2 man here waiting for, hey, what are we doing here? So there's 2 ways that you can make entry into the room. You can cross in, I cross off of you, which is usually the faster way to do things, or you can button hook and take this corner here, and then I'm button hooking the backside.
So we were both on the same side potentially.
Yep.
I've pied the room, right? And then now I've seen the most of the room. I have the ability to break down like we practice in the drills.
Yep.
Come through, push, or I have the ability to button hook.
Correct.
Explain to me the best way to button hook, and why would I run into the room, or why would I button hook?
Yeah, so a button hook is basically I'm just going to go this way, and just in the simplest form of it, if I were to do it, I'm just going to take my step, turn into the room, and present without overexposing that first leg that's going in. So minimizing that exposure on my way in. For right now, let's just get into the room smoothly so we're not tripping and running over stuff. Button hooks are used if there's something driving you this direction on this side of the door, or vice versa.
Let's say I'm button hooking and I'm a righty. So when I button hook this way, it's super awkward. This way, I feel like I could do it better.
Right, yeah.
That's just training, you just gotta practice?
Yeah, so then we talk about switching shoulders and getting comfortable with that. But that has to happen outside here.
So if I was gonna button hook here, I would switch shoulders now?
Yes.
Yes. I'm not trying to do it halfway through the room.
Yes, correct.
Switch shoulders now, button hook in the room. Okay.
Yeah. And the principles of switching shoulders is the same as what we would do on our strong side. So if I'm gonna make like entry into the room and I'm gonna break down, we have to be able to do that as well on the left side.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
So I've got to be able to break down into high, look at that thing choking.
Right, so then we talk about sling setup. Sling setup becomes like, is my sling too tight to switch shoulders? If I'm going to do it, is my gun and system set up properly for me to be able to do it? I can do it on this setup that you have for me, super easy, and it's not getting in the way. On my personal rifle, I have to let tension out of my sling because I keep it pretty tight. I have to loosen that up if I know I'm going to switch, or I'm going to choke myself out like you were just experiencing there.
All right, let's go center fed room, and we'll just go half speed, yeah?
Yep. So one thing we got to be cognizant of is that muzzle and its distance from the door itself, right? So we want to start that entry as close to the door jamb without overexposing into it. So if I'm right here, hey, that's a good distance. If I'm starting right here, we've already kind of let people, or somebody can see this. They can't see this until we have already started that movement into the room.
Okay, so question. Right here, I've set it up to where in high ready, I'm not here, but if I extended, I was. So do I need to start from extended and then chicken wing down?
Yeah, it's kind of like a fluid motion. This is where more of that practice would come into play. Like, I'm going to start making entry into the room. I'm going to start, see how it's kind of that, as I get closer to the door, the breakdown happens here. Step through.
Okay. So while I'm on the door getting ready to go, I need to be here.
Yes.
Okay.
It's our
modified low ready.
Most stable shooting platform until we absolutely can't do it anymore. What we're talking about here, safe, finger off.
Okay. The average civilian that aren't Navy SEALs, SEAL Team 6, Delta Force, high speed, low drag, whatever, we're going to stick with safety on, finger off the trigger, right? Okay.
Yeah. That is 50 to 60% speed. When you do a cross entrance, I can be faster as your 2-man on you. That's the benefit of that.
In my shooting stance here, I'm coming through the door, I'm clearing this corner. As soon as I know this corner's clear, I'm spinning my head. As soon as I know this corner's clear, I'm going to, how far do I go in the room?
Yeah, so theoretically you're 18 inches off the end of my barrel to be safe. We can start tightening those up as people get more comfortable with it, but that's a good rule of thumb. And now that's not 18 inches off here. It's 18 inches off of wherever the closest 18 inches is to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, if I know, if you're coming off this wall and you're still facing that way, you're clearing, and I'm like, hey, I'm 18 inches off a tray. Now go ahead and turn and pan the rest. Now I'm shooting tray in the chest. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like a variable of 18 inches off of where are you going to end. It's like throwing a pass to where the receiver is going to be rather than where he's running now. I know you have to come around. The end of your barrel is going to be here, not in that corner. So I gotta be conscious of that. Like, whoa, he's coming all the way around. So that's where we get into some trouble. Okay. Is that over pan?
So I have this question. Let's say I run in the room right here.
Yep.
And right here, I see bad guy.
Yep.
What are you doing after you've heard me go pop, pop, pop?
I'm going to continue what I'm doing. I'm assuming that you as my number 1 or 2 has taken care of the issue. So unless something crazy haywire goes, and I'm still going to continue all the way to the end of my scan so that I can see what's going on with Trey. And then I've processed and seen, hey, we have 1 door, 2 door. What's my next thing on my list that I have to kind of knock out?
Right, okay. So you didn't hear shots and be like, whoa, what did he just shoot at?
Right, because say, what if you did take shots and I'm like, what's Trey doing? And I have to open my off-the-wall gate so I'm not flagging you to come over here, and now we've exposed both of us to 2 threats that we didn't process yet. We didn't even look in that direction because I'm hyper-focused on what you got. And that's kind of where, like, doing this kind of stuff with people that you know is super interesting because you get to work together more. And then, hey, I know what you're doing when you're doing it. If you take shots, I'm going to process, you're trusting me, I'm trusting you. When you do it with new people, which we see in some of the home defense classes, is that will drive decisions for people who don't work together a lot. So think about that too. Like, go take a class and work with people you don't know. You learn a lot from what people do right and, more importantly, what they do wrong.
What happens if I flow into this room and as I do, bam, 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 I get shot and now I fall? You're still what?
Still continuing through. I mean, that worst case scenario, right? That CQC, CQB, all this stuff, home defense is super dangerous. It's like the most dangerous thing, right? We're putting ourselves in a confined space with somebody potentially with a gun that most likely is going to set up an ambush on us. That's where we honestly are looking, even if it is your home, like we talk about. We're going through the front door, assuming somebody's in there. They could just be waiting in a corner that we can't see. So this is an extremely dangerous thing to actually participate in.
Yeah, and so what I want you guys to be able to pick up from all of this CQB stuff that we're doing, and it's a multiple series. I don't even know. Like we're going over, and I'm just literally picking Phil's brain, and we're coming up with these video ideas that I think is going to get the most education across to you guys. And there's a lot of stuff that whenever I'm sitting here picking his brain, and I've done this a bunch, he's done it more, that I'm able to say these are the little nuances that I wasn't looking at. But what I want you to get more than anything out of this is mindset, because it's mindset, it's tactics, and it's gear. So I've got a really Gucci, Cobalt, CGS, Ingall. Like, I don't even know how much this rifle cost on the street. 20 grand, maybe? I don't know. 15 grand? This is the least most important thing that I have in here. The most important thing that I have is my brain, and I'm already made up my mind to do this because I've thought about it, I've practiced it. The second part is the tactics, which we're learning now in the practice, and then you could do this with a high point. Like, it doesn't matter. But I want you guys to think about, hey, if I come in a room and my buddy gets shot, could be my wife. If my wife gets shot, but my kids are still in there, what do we do?
And if we made entry and you got shot on entry, I have to continue what I'm doing and then deal with it. It's just, again, it's that like pickup basketball thing that we talk about. I'm not even gonna see it realistically. If we came in this room and I'm going this way, it's gonna take me 2 to 3 before I even get to my corner and do my thing and go, oh man, he's down. I'm probably getting shot too, realistically. If you get dumped on the way into the room, how hard is that? Boom, 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 boom. We're
Right, because your back is to it.
Right, so we're in a bad spot. That's why the outside work is super important. Realistically, when we think about it, this stuff looks really cool, but we can get a lot done to make this super safe, even if it's in our own home. We know our living room and where furniture and stuff is. I know how to move around that. You have much greater success taking care of it from out here than we do looking cool and coming inside. We're opening ourselves to a lot more from making entry into a room, which that is the worst case scenario, right? You make entry, get blasted, and I'm coming right off of you and get shot in the back.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do then? You know, we're kind of in some trouble. So, yeah, think about those things before we make, like you're saying, mindset, snap decisions to do this stuff. Maybe think about it another way.
All right, so as he said that, this was exciting. This is the part where you're like, oh, let's go really fast. And the part that most of the time that I see people, especially, people that are wanting to be a part of this, airsofters, LARPers, whatever you are, preppers, doesn't matter to me. I think this is skills that you need to have. The one thing that we do poorly is pieing.
Let's talk about the pie from outside, or this can also be done inside of a structure. We want to utilize as much distance as we can. That's like the only friend that we have out here because we have no cover and the concealment is only the 2 walls that are inside that we're working against. The pie can be as far back as we feel is comfortable. The idea of it is to see as deep into the corners, because these are the last areas, corner, that we can't see before we actually go into the room. So I want to be able to see as much as I possibly can. Right here, with no door open, I can pretty much see all the way to the seam of that wall there. If I come over to this side, I'm still clearing as I'm looking. All right, I got an open door going into my kitchen of the house, and hey, my closet door is open too. And I can pretty much get all the way over to here, maybe 1.5 feet off the wall. So we got to be cognizant of that because people can hide in those deeper corners. But now I've seen the whole structure. So if I'm gonna go that way, because I know this is a shorter wall, I can give that up to my number 2 man. When I make entry here, my next step is I'm looking for what is the next thing that I have to deal with. So we know that this door is open because I saw it from the outside. Boom. And now this is my focus here until my number 2 man is done with the closet. So let's see what that looks like. So say I'm the number 1 and you're my number 2, and I'm doing my pie out here.
You can give me this, right?
I can give it to him, but I know what the next things in the room are, especially for beginner stuff. Processing is what's gonna slow people way down, knowing like what's the next threat that's closest to me, and that doesn't always mean closest, it means proximity of angles of danger. So if there's a door right next to you, that's actually this guy's responsibility to hold until he gives it up, because I'm exposing myself to that more than you are up against this wall. So I can give it to him, and that is simple, just, I got nothing in the corner.
And then
I'm basically telling him, hey Trey, I saw as much of the room as I could. It's pretty dead over here. There's nothing left for me to do. I can make entry here, but I'm gonna walk, 36 inches into the corner, and it's
so if you didn't give me that, and you know, like from here, 100%, there isn't anybody right there, because that's like 10 inches.
Yep.
There's nobody there for sure. If I didn't give this to you, would you button hook this then?
So if we start getting like deep into it, right? Say I'm not going to give it up to you. I'm like, I saw the room, I'm going to take it. I'm not going to button hook that because I looked at what the next threats are in there. We have what we assume is a closet because we can see deep into that little area, and I kind of know, hey, there's a closet there. And then I have this next open room here. I can clean that closet up simultaneously while continuing this room clearance.
Makes sense.
By just going down that wall there. See what I'm saying? Boom.
Just come to here.
You've already cleaned that closet up. This guy's here, and he's immediately grabbing this. So now we're talking speed. We're able to get faster. You're taking one thread of the room, number 2 on your initial, and all you're leaving me with is this here. So that's where we start to see speed, is when the number 1 man processes, makes a conscious decision to go a certain way, not based on what he thinks is here, but what he's seen and what he can take care of initially. Because the idea of this whole thing, right, is to bite off a piece and get rid of it. Take the next one, get rid of it, and you just keep doing that until there's nothing left. So,
okay, and this is the path of least resistance because
right.
Okay.
And I could button hook because I saw, hey, that's a closet door. I could dump that to you because I don't think it's much of a threat, and I know that this next room that goes into the living room or the kitchen of the house is probably the primary. 6 1, half dozen another. I can give it to you, but you haven't seen anything. It's a very uncomfortable feeling to go in there without seeing any of it, especially when the guy comes over to the here and he's pied and he's like, it's all yours, brother. You're like, dude, I'm looking at this corner. Well, okay, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. So one of the things that I see a lot is guys will pie and they think these two things. Like, I've seen it a lot, and I even seen it at a couple of schools where they'll be here and then they'll pie like this. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I'd really like to get to you guys is, and I think Phil's got this really well, is if you notice how he pied, 1, distance is his friend, and 2, he never did this. It's a fluid movement because you're processing the room. I know there's nobody there. I know there's nobody there. I know there's nobody there. And then I can come back up and get back to my position to be able to enter. And I don't know why it's a thing. I don't know if it's easier to teach at a school because they don't have the room, but taking as much ground as you can when you pie to where you can still see in, which it could change, right? Like, I might feel way more comfortable out here, but my problem is it's dark inside the house and I can't see.
Right.
So, but I think you would agree to say take as much room in the pie as you possibly can.
Comfortably, yeah, where you feel comfortable with shooting distance as well as what am I visibly able to see inside of what I'm looking at. And to your point, I think this, when we do like this kind of choppy step, it's the threat of getting, like if we're in a force-on-force class, you see it a lot because they're waiting for that role player to open up on the door frame because they know, hey, they're coming in here. So you get that like, oh, is he there? Oh. The problem that I don't like with that is if I stop here and my leg is way further out than I think it is now, I'm just kind of stuck there. But it does take time to learn the processing of the inside of the room before we can just kind of like roll through it. So if we had to, we can just slow it down. You know what I mean? Like we could pie this fast and that's like a normal process for me. But if we absolutely had to, and I'm like, I'm not quite there to know what my next problem set is, we can literally just go this fast. And my brain is now keeping up with the speed at which I'm seeing the room. Door, nothing. I can keep that speed, but we're continuing the motion instead of this choppy kind of walking.
Right, makes sense. So we're never doing this.
I don't like it. I know some people.
I don't like it either.
Yeah, some people teach it and teach their own kind of thing. I personally feel like if I'm more fluid, I'm processing more fluid. If that makes any sense at all, probably doesn't. But if I'm just kind of walking around and treating it like, hey, I'm going to look in that room and I'm moving seamlessly, I feel like I do better to see inside.
All right, so I'm coming where I want to make sure that I can see into the room as much as I can. Modified low ready.
So now you've seen it, right? And the big takeaway from that is, you as the guy who did the pie, you've seen that there's no entrances or exits on this side of the room. So we know, like, unless somebody bolts that door that's over there, this is good. Unless there's furniture, obviously. But for this room, is a stale room, there's nothing in there. You've seen it and you're like, yeah, we're good.
You guys have to remember a couple of things that I don't really hear anybody talk about, but there could be somebody behind your couch. There could be somebody on the side of your couch, on the side of your refrigerator. There could be somebody under the bed. All right, guys, so I need you to use your imagination right here. We have some couches and stuff in here. Looks like a table, a refrigerator. More than likely, in a real house, these are doors. So you have to take the open doors. So let's just assume that these doors are closed, so the internet just doesn't just get us. All these doors are closed. Now let's talk about the furniture side of this one. Phil had some really pretty awesome stuff on this. I'm gonna let him just come in and act like there was two so he can talk about this part.
Yeah, so big like lazy boys, couches, floating bookshelf, stuff like that. Say this is just a pantry door and we have food shelves that go to here, so we know that, hey, nobody can hide in there. This is another obstacle that we have to clear, because this is a 3.5-foot wall that easily a human being can fit behind. This refrigerator, I don't know how many houses have them set up like this anymore, but somebody could tuck in a corner here, get down behind this. These are all kind of little things that we have to pick apart while we're seeing what's next on our list of things that we got to deal with. So as we pie the outside, I would be looking at those things, right? That's like kind of the next step for me is, I got a corner here. I got a refrigerator with some dead space back there. I got a, maybe this is a kitchen island right here. The big island with the stools and stuff behind it, easy to hide behind. I have a lazy boy on this side here. Those are 1, 2, 3, 4 more things that I have to deal with when we go that take my eyes and vision away from the actual doorways or hallways that we have to deal with. So as we're outside, I'm kind of looking at that like, okay, I gotta make sure I check the chair, and then I'm immediately gonna swing and open up so that I can see behind the island and that refrigerator. And I'm hoping my number 2, or if it's just me, can clean up this corner here, because this is probably the most realistic area where somebody would be.
So I got a question then on pieing then. So when you're talking processing speed, I'm having to process, 1, is there anybody in here?
Right.
2, are they friendly or unfriendly?
Yep.
3, are there any other open doors that are beyond what I can see?
Yes.
4, what are the furniture doing? Mm-hmm. And then 5, what am I going to trip over?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. What are we going to tumble and go right over?
So that would determine, that could slow you down on your pie speed.
Yes, like we just discussed, that's where maybe I take a beat and, whoa, there's a lot of furniture in my living room. We have 2 sectionals and then a lazy boy in the corner and a bookshelf. Maybe I got to take some more time on the outside before just bum rushing that. So yeah. That's a great point, yeah.
Okay, so, all right, so we talked about the pie. We talked about the things we have to process inside the pie. Let's move on to corner fed room. I want my turn. Is it on? Is it on? Is the camera on? Is the camera on? Hi, camera. Listen, WeDoDumbShit.com. Check it out. You can only practice this with Mantis, but here we go. I come into the room, and I could either do safety on and finger off the trigger, and then go like this. Okay, there's my threat process. Boom. Okay. Or what happens if we have the safety off and we take the slack out? Ooh, see, I didn't mean to shoot that. So I don't like this one, because if I walk in and I'm like, oh, that was Sarah. I didn't mean to shoot Sarah. I don't know who Sarah is, but you might know Sarah, and she's dead now. But what if we took the slack out of the trigger and had our safety on, walked into the room, and boom! Do you see how fast that was? That was so fast. Listen, that's all a joke. Don't do that.
You're preloading the trigger?
Preloading the trigger. So preload the trigger, come in the room, and you're so much faster. Just, that's bullshit. Don't do it. WeDoDumbShit.com.
All right, we're going to talk about corner feds, okay? This is like the greatest thing for you if you're clearing a house, clearing a structure, because we can do most of it from the outside. So here's a corner fed room. What that means is we have pretty much a wall that runs from door jamb down to the corner, and then this is the last kind of thing that we have to worry about that we cannot see from the outside, other than furniture and other doors in the room. So for this instance, when we get into it with Trey, this is going to be treated as a wall or closed door. This is not open, right? Because we're just trying to drive the point home about, hey, I have a corner fed room. What is the best way for me to handle this? And we'll talk about just making normal entry and then button hooks if we have to pie a certain way, or maybe we do another pie background to set ourselves up to go because we're not quite there yet. So if I'm here and I see a wall, I'm good. And if I keep that clearing all the way through off that leading edge of the door, and I'm moving, processing, there's nothing there, and I get all the way to here, and I can pretty much see almost the whole room without ever having to go in. Greatest gift an architect can give you is a corner fed room for clearance, because it makes it so easy to do from the outside. Now, if we were coming from, say, this way, and we don't know, because it's not our house, a structure that we're familiar with, we don't know that it's a corner fed room, we're going to end up doing our full pan through, because until I can see that wall, I'm not going to stop. Now that most likely is going to look like a 45-50% pan of what normally we would do, because as I'm panning around here, I see the wall. Okay, it's a corner fed room. I know that now. Now what's the next step that we want to do is go in and clean up the rest of what we have. So if I'm here, I'm like, oh, corner fed room, boom. I'm gonna get just one last little bit of what I can see is far over. Now with this room, I'm pretty much there. I got maybe 16 to 18 inches that I can't see. Then the entry is normal, right? Boom, room is clear. Good, the room is like done at that point. So we were able to do pretty much the whole thing and not have to worry about much even on the entry, because we can see almost the whole room itself. Do we have to button hook? Maybe if there's another wall like right here, I still would probably just take a step and go. So there's no reason to really button hook in here.
Then one of the questions I have is, if there's two men, so it's you and I,
Yep.
and are both of us still making an entrance into that room, even though you know it's clear except for that last 18 inches?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Always
Just
two men.
in case.
Just in case.
Yes.
Always two men if you have two men.
If you have two dudes, two bros, you're both going. Every chance that you can get. The only time I wouldn't do that is like this closet, because it's so small. We're not going to go in there and play nut to butt and be like, it's clear, and I'm like standing on your back.
Another question is, they put this bed here as a bed frame so we know that there's a bed. So this is why I asked for you. But the truth is, the reason why two men would go for the just in case is because there could be a dude behind here. Mm-hmm. You gotta remember, whenever you're doing CQB, it's very rare that somebody is just gonna stand there and let you shoot them standing up, right?
Yeah, I mean, they have to know, like, you're coming, and I probably would never stand in the middle of the room. That's why our corners are our most dangerous spots.
Right, but they're, like, if they know you're coming, I get it. If it's surprise and they don't know you're coming, that's different. But this isn't a team of Navy SEALs hitting you. Like, this is somebody's in your house, you're coming in here, because if not, you're gonna let the cops do it, right?
Right.
So they could be laying down beside the bed, they could be underneath the bed, there could be shelves up top, which is why you're processing the whole room, because, you know, there's a lot of houses that have like that lip up there. It could be up there. Like, it's why you have to understand, guys, when you see shoot houses, they're really cool. And you see guys coming in doing high speed stuff, shooting flat targets, but it changes. There's so much to be able to look through. And just notice, when there's a bed inside of this is a 10 by 12 room with a full size bed. When there's a bed inside of here, it closes the room space down a lot, and it keeps you really having to look down on the side or underneath stuff, because somebody will shoot you from underneath the bed.
This system in general, or like whatever training aid you want to use, Mantis I think is the coolest one. Doing it in your own home until you get comfortable with it, because you find out how stupid you were to put certain furniture in certain places. But that's what the normal person does, right? They put their bed in the middle of the room. They have a chair or a elliptical that just collects clothes in the corner. There's all these little pieces of furniture that get strewn all over a house. that we forget about until we have to walk through there and like, I got to check on the bed, but we have a dresser here and a makeup counter over here and a chair next to that. Can I actually get all the way over there? And I have a closet here too. So it can get like really out of control really fast. So you got to kind of think about that.
So women, this I'm speaking on behalf of your husband here. We like it that you make the house very homey and
Feng shui,
beautiful and smell good, and thank you for doing that for us. Could you give us just a brief tactical overview, and if we're like, hey, we don't want to trip over that in case I'm having to save your life, maybe just work with your husband a little bit.
Alrighty, let's talk holding hallways or multiple threats that we have in front of us, right? So if we make entry into the structure and I see, hey, I have a hallway and a door, and I need to stop here and hold that. I need to be able to hold both of those kind of simultaneously. So that modified low, this is where the range drills come in, with that modified low ready into a low ready drill with multiple targets. And I'm just holding down until my number 2 man makes enough movement to that side to where I can clear out of what I would consider a really dangerous spot. But I don't want to get too far over here quite yet until you as the 2 has eyes on what you were supposed to be covering down on for me. So if I give this up too early and say, I don't want to be standing right here, I'm going to move. And as you're moving, somebody else is countering that move. Now you're going to be in a really bad spot as well as me. So I kind of want to keep an eye on as much of this corner of that room as well as the hallway here. The faster you move, the safer it is for me. And we're treating this as a full wall. There's not a door here, right? This adds a bunch more problems. So we'll go real slow, kind of see how that looks. So I make entry, I'm the number 1. You make entry, you're my number 2. Boom, we've seen pretty much a lot of the room from the outside. I'm going back to my next threat, which is the hallway down at the end here. I also can see corner of that door into that room there, which gives me a little bit of an insight into that room. That's realistically what you need to be picking up fast, because you're going to be able to clear up almost the rest of that corner fed room from your outside pie here in the middle.
Okay. So two things that I think worked on really well on this one is the way that we've seen a lot of people, especially on the tubes pie, which means I'm pieing this room right now, okay? If I take these choppy steps, I'm really exposing my partner. If I'm scared and I'm doing this and I'm trying to bend way over, I'm hanging him out to dry really bad. So that goes back to the more space I can get around and the faster I can get there, still having to process.
Yep.
So let's run through that, and you can talk about when you moved to cover right there.
Yep.
So we both came in.
So
sorry, I was here. Now I'm going to pie this room.
Yep. So as soon as I kind of tell, like, hey, we've done this enough, I know when you're starting to see most of that room, just from your angle looking into it, you have enough of it that I can kind of give this up now, because I know that you're covering it. So I would say, hey, halfway across this center line of this kitchen area, I'm confident that you, Trey, can see enough of this room for me to get out of that fatal funnel of the hallway. But I'm not gonna just give it up real quick and then expose you to somebody that can run from the only corner that neither one of us can see. So we don't want to be too fast on either one. Pieing and processing too fast, not seeing, or me going, I don't like this, I'm gonna get over here and just cover the hallway, giving free movement to the only corner that we cannot see left in that room.
Okay. So when you hear people say, hold that door, hold that hallway, I think it's pretty simple. You're just waiting for your partner to finish whatever they were doing so that you can continue to move. You're just making sure there's not a bad guy that comes out that you got to smoke so your partner doesn't get shot, right?
Yeah, and sometimes it's not going to feel super comfortable where we are. Like this room in general, we're hanging it out until we start moving off of our walls. Could be, even if this is a real door and that is a hallway and that's a real door, it's a lot going on and I have nowhere to go until you start moving and I start moving without dropping as many things.
Yeah. Notice one of the things that Phil's talking about is he doesn't really ever want to stand still, which is why it's a great thing to practice this and a great thing to practice on the range, because it's never really ever going to be you just standing there being like bang, 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 Mozambique, bang, bang, bang. You have to move. What is the motionless operators ventilate easily? Nate! Where's Nate? Is it motionless operators ventilate what? Easily. That's it. Motionless operators ventilate easily. It means if you just stand there and you don't start moving or you don't stay moving, it's really easy to shoot you.
Like holding doors and holding long hallways. Primarily, if I can, I want to get behind, call it concealment for drywall. Okay, so as little as I can expose down that hallway, the better off I am, but I'm not gonna just give things up because I'm trying to get to cover while exposing you if you are too. If I'm one-man home defense, I'm in my house dealing with this, I'm using as much concealment as cover, and I'm going like methodically slow because I have to. I'm not gonna stand in the middle of a hallway here with my pistol at night and be like, where am I going next? Like, I have that plan that we talked about. I'm going to use the concealment of my structure to my advantage because I know the house, they don't. That is probably my biggest advantage in these situations, is I know the house, they do not. So I'm going to use corners like this, and I'm going to get as much of that room as I can. And then I'm going to go around this way, and I'm going to get as much of that room as I can. Then I'm going to decide, I'm going to go here first, then there, then there. So we start with that plan, then we use our cover and our concealment, and then we start to make the movement then.
In this session, let's talk about priorities of work. You're coming up to a house, what are our priorities of work?
Yeah, so this should be something that we know prior to even starting to attempt this, even taking force-on-force classes. This will serve you well, and it starts from outside, right, with that initial work where we are looking into the room. So we have a threat, so somebody that's threatening with a weapon, gun, whatever it may be. An unknown, maybe it's somebody who's standing in your house, but they're a 16-year-old kid, just like, I'm here with my buddies, I don't know what's going on. Then we have uncleared space. So, for example, this little corner in the room right here would be considered uncleared space. Open doors, because that's the next one. And then closed doors, because we can't see in and they can't see out. So those are the kind of things. Threat, unknown, uncleared space, open door, closed door. Super easy. You write them down on a whiteboard or on a little 3x5, put them in your pocket, and you'll know them in a week of looking at it. If you're like me, take a little longer.
All right, so I love the open doors thing. Like if you walk in, there's multiple doors, you're gonna go to the closest one that's open first. And if it's closed, you can pass it up and go to the open one. If they're all closed, you can just start picking them. But that's one thing that's really important, because you can't see in, they can't see out. And you've got to be able to take care of your work that, you know, if somebody was hidden back there in the dark, that they could see. One that I always, James Yeager had three things. What were they? They were, all corners are dangerous. The closest to you is the most dangerous, which that's uncleared space, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Windows and doorways are a picture frame to your death, which means if there's an open door, you've got to worry about that open door.
Yep.
Be mindful of the windows. I think it's a good thing to be able to say, like, if it's hard to see inside of a house, but it doesn't mean that there's not somebody there.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we got threats, unknowns, uncleared space, open door, closed door. So you make up a little acronym.
All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is a series of videos. I need you to watch it. Go subscribe to Phil's channel. What's your channel?
Having a blast, and our training company's EWS Training.
All right, take some classes from this guy. Like, he's probably one of the best instructors that I've ever been around. Like, literally, he can articulate and teach better than most people that I've shot with.